Hello, hello. I believe that we are live. I hope that is correct. Yeah, we are live. Nice to see you all. Welcome, if there is anybody there. Welcome to my live stream. Yes. So here we are. So announcements. If you would like to join my up and coming retreat, or it's not a retreat, it's a conference, that will begin on Friday, Easter Friday, and is for 7 days, but you're welcome to come for a couple of days, or a day, if you would like. You can find more information about that on my website, and I'm sure it's linked to this video somewhere, so just click on that and you will find out. And I think that's all. Oh, and also there is a conference, a retreat, actually, a walking retreat in October in the south of Europe that you're welcome to join. You can find out about that on my website. So just click one of the boxes and it will send you to my website. And yeah, you can join. So maybe for some people, they've been listening to me for a long time and they wonder, like, why on earth would you do a non-duality retreat? Do a yoga retreat or do a Vipassana retreat, but why do a non-duality retreat when there is nothing to get? Yeah, and language is like really confusing when it comes to this subject. So to be honest with you, I think I only ever went on 2 non-duality retreats myself. And actually had an awakening experience. But what I did do was, because I was young then and I didn't have the money, was I used to go to India when teachers were teaching for like a month in India. There was this one teacher called Caesar Terrell, and he would be teaching like every day, twice a day. So it was like a retreat. And I'd go and listen for like a month. So that was kind of like retreats, but yeah, I suppose it was a retreat in a way, but just without being formally called it. And yeah, the other retreat was when I was at Rupert Spearer's in, I don't know, like 2008. And I think it was when he first begun teaching. Maybe it was yeah, I can't remember what date when it was. But it was in the noughties. And yeah, and it was such a beautiful experience. His wife Ellen was there as well, and she was teaching yoga. And there was only, I think, maybe 25 people. It was before he became really popular. And it was at his home as well. Yeah, and it was just so beautiful to be immersed in that subject again and again and again. And like in the breaks, you speak to other people that are immersed in that subject. So for me, the reason that I did it, some people do it for the social, but actually the reason that I did it was to just be immersed in that subject and just to hear it again and again, and the energy in the room that's created, whether you call it from the teacher or from the divine or whatever it is. Yeah, and then on the Rupert retreat, I actually had an awakening, but like often in my non-duality career, I didn't realize I had an awakening. And I remember going back to my parents' house afterwards to visit them, and they were talking, and everything was just so empty. It was like it was going through, and there was nothing that it was attaching to. I didn't know. I didn't have any thoughts or any language for it, so I didn't know that had happened. I just registered the experience like it was very blissful, and just registered it. And then I didn't realize that that was the emptiness. Like I wasn't identified so much with the personality structure, but more with the emptiness. But I just didn't know, because who would know? Yeah. When you have longer experiences of it, then there's ability to recognize the difference between and to be able to like register it. But in the end, like really in the moment, there's nobody to know that. You're just there and everything's very empty. Yeah. So the reason that I went on retreats was just to immerse myself in the subject and just to hear it repetitively. But I think other people go on the retreat for other reasons, like to calm the nervous system or to make friends. Um, yeah. So that is that. Okay, so now on to talk. What everyone's come from. Enough about that, Lisa. We come for a talk on non-duality. Um, so the title of the talk today is Who is the doer of your actions? Which is a phenomenal title. I think I did make up this one this time, or Amelia made it up. Um, so who is the doer of your actions? So we have to come back to who are you? In this moment, who is experiencing? Who is looking out of the eyes? Who is it that's hearing these words, perceiving the room? I just get really blissed out saying that. So then it's not a huge urge to speak. And it's interesting when you're doing these videos because you're trying to be authentic. And what I mean by authentic is following the flow of life's movements. That's so abstract. So you're trying to be authentic to what wants to be expressed. Not even you're trying, there's just the momentum for that to happen. And also there's a knowledge that people have come to listen to you talk about non-duality. So to me, if you really come back to the flow, and when you really come back to the flow, then you see that there is no doer. That there's nobody doing anything. And the flow is standing on the precipice between nothing and everything. So Nisargadatta Maharaj would say, to know to know I am everything is love, to know nothing is wisdom, and in between my life unfolds. So it's that you have to stand in the middle of that. So there is a presence that's happening, and then you're letting the presence speak rather than your ideas and what we would call the ego's definition of what should happen or what should be. So then you could say consciousness speaks, or love speaks, or God speaks, or no one speaks. But to do this, it's very vulnerable because it's really being authentic to the flow that's happening there. So if that's not speaking, that's not speaking. If that's being really quiet, that's being really quiet. If that's not replying, that's not replying. I mean, that's what the real beauty is about going to live talks. So you really, get to experience this authenticity You know, the other time on YouTube, a lot of the videos are edited versions of live talks or, just like 5 or 10 minute talk on non-duality. And it makes it more theoretical, When I used to go to the talks in Tiruvannamalai, like listen for like, like a month, twice a day, every day. It wasn't about the words. I knew the words off by heart. It wasn't about something that I would learn. It was the energy of the talk. It was just something else. Satsang is meeting in truth. And what people now are introduced to non-duality like is through these extracts of videos, of a teacher just doing like a 5 or 10 minute video or 5 or 10 minute video cut from their talks, maybe plastered to music. It's really not a criticism, it's the way that it unfolds. But that wasn't the way in which this was traditionally taught. It was, well, I mean, tradition is a bit nonsense because it came over to the West and so it changed. But it was giving a talk and being in this energy of truth, in this space of truth. And it's not about the teacher speaking and the students listening. It's this energy of truth, this commitment to truth. So I love it, speaking and teaching. At the moment, I teach these small book clubs because it's for me also like a time, this beautiful energetic time in which this subject is shared. And it's not me speaking, even though it looks like it's Lisa speaking. That's why I will sometimes like be like, oh wow, that's so beautiful when after I spoke, because I really don't see it as me. It's not me speaking. It's truth coming through. And it's not you listening. It's not student, teacher. That's it's all in your mind. It's a space for devotion to the truth. It's incredibly sacred. But it's not sacred because of the teacher. This is everybody's mistake. It's just that there has to be a voice box in which expresses it. Otherwise, how will it get expressed? And it's all that matters in this life is waking up. Maybe that's not what appears in your life. Maybe it appears, what's important is growing your children or building a family or creating a business or being creative. That's perfectly okay. But there will become a point after 1,000 years lived where none of the pleasures of the world will give you what you'll decide, or you'll discover that none of the pleasures of the world will really give you what you're looking for. And so there will be an orientating back towards truth. And it doesn't need to be rushed if you still have stories to live out, becoming a better you, a richer you, a father, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. You have these stories. That is perfection. That is perfect. But at some point, nothing will satisfy. Everything comes and goes and changes and is up and down and left and right. Maybe in your life, it's not about satisfaction at all anymore. Maybe it's about duty to others. You're raising a family and you're in a situation where you might not be obtaining pleasures, but you might be on day-to-day survival to try to raise your family so there's people dependent on you. Maybe this is a lot of stress or hard work, or maybe you blame yourself for having done things wrong. But it's absolutely not true. Nothing in this life will really work out. If you've gone down the business route, it can't really work out, and that will be discovered one day. That any life path that you took cannot really work out. There's a good book about this called something Library, Midnight Library. That's a really beautiful book if anyone has the urge to read it. Midnight Library. And she is really deeply depressed, and then she goes into this library, and then she gets to Midnight Library and she gets to experience like all the different variations of her life, and she realizes that none of them bring her what she's truly looking for. They all have their problems. But while there is a belief in that, and there is an urge to satisfy that, that has to be lived out. And then at some point, it will be seen that that isn't the truth, and that the truth is this moment. The truth is where no stories are. The truth is where there isn't even a you. Complete emptiness. And that emptiness, that no-thingness, that freedom that's always been craved, can only be found in the center of being. You could also say in the center of you. It cannot be found outside of you. It can only be found inside you. Inside you. And that is the I am and the empty looking. Coming back to the precipice between nothing and everything. Precipice. The precipice. And it doesn't matter what any teacher says or names it as. If we're doing this book club, I love it. We're doing I Am That, and we're doing Papa G's book, Wake Up and Raw. And, from doing that, I really see that it just doesn't freaking matter the words. Don't be a stickler for words. But every teacher's got to stick to particular words. So don't get annoyed or offended if they stick to their words, because they've got to stick to their words, because otherwise you'd be just in entropy. Is that the right word? Entropy. So what is the heart of being? The heart of being is I am, Not I that's personal, not I that belongs to you, but an amness. And the amness is love. You could say feeling of love, or it's like an interconnectedness with everything. It's love. I don't know, feeling or not feeling, whether it's the first feeling that comes into the universe or not, there's all these different, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's just love. And then the empty looking, which is the nothingness, the emptiness. And when there is a movement back to them, then there is nothing looking, and then there is the heart of everything being, loving. So there's nothing looking and the heart being. And it's not separate, but not as an idea, just as it is. It's just everywhere. Nothing empty looking is everywhere, because division comes from an idea of self. I am good, I am bad. So there is the movement to the no self. And so the experiencer is no longer the character, but the empty looking. The character, though, is still experienced, and the character still remains. So this character still remains, but it's not constant. It's something that comes and goes when it's called upon and needed. When you socialize, you need more of a character. And the character is the habits and the up-to-date conditioning. The up-to-date habits, genetics and conditioning. What is it that Roger used to say? Genetics and up-to-date conditioning? Forgotten what he used to say, but yeah, it's like the habits and the conditions of the body. So Lisa has a preference for something over other things. And what awakening does for the character, or what it did for my character, I don't know if that's the same for other characters, is it makes the character ghost-like. So it made my character a lot easier. Like it's like gets over things a lot quicker. It doesn't get stuck on things, and it's not seeking to find freedom. So the intensity of everything. So if somebody really insults your character, it doesn't stick. There's not a seeking, I've got to rectify my character. There might be an urge to rectify it for social, like if everybody's thinking you've done something really terrible, like there might be an urge to try to rectify that to make your life easier, because if everyone thinks you've done something really terrible, then they're going to be terrible to you. So you might try to rectify that, but there's no seeking to be that anymore, because you're home. So it's not got the urgency. When you believe you are the character, your reputation could be the most important thing is to you, because you believe the reputation is home. If I have a good reputation, I will be home. It's an energy. It's not about acting a certain way. For me, the awakening on the character level, it changed the intensity of everything, made everything more ghost-like. And then there's still seeking patterns that can sometimes arise, but they're like ghost-like too, like old slivers of things. But there is a rooting in what you are, like there's not a disconnection from what you are. So if you feel disconnected from who you are, then I'm going to give you practical advice as how to get back to who you are, as a joke. But I'm going to give you some practical advice of something that you can do. That's something that Nisargadatta Maharaj recommends, is putting the personal attention repetitively in the I am. That's what Nisargadatta recommends, but if you prefer consciousness, then you can do consciousness. And yes, ultimately you can't do that as such, because who would be the person that does that? And if that is all there is, then, and that is what's experiencing the person, and the person can't turn itself and do that. But while you feel like you are a person and that you've lost home, there can be this exercise of feeling the I am and putting the attention in the I am. Another way of saying it is the present moment, like putting the attention in the present moment. So becoming that exercise of becoming present, if that's what suits you. I personally prefer the I am, but I don't want to exclude anyone, because for some people that might be really, like they might not know what that means. That might be really far out there. What I like about Nisargadatta is he just says that he just trusted his teacher and did it for 3 years. Just trusted him, which was really sweet. And it's actually a practice I used to do as well. I don't know how I came to do it, because I wasn't like a really avid reader of I Am That because of my dyslexia. I found it quite hard. Um, but through Roger and Ramesh, there was some form of emphasis on it, and it just was something I naturally would do. I remember one time just being in such a storm. I couldn't sleep. I was in such a mental storm and in so much pain and agony, physical agony and emotional agony. There were some things in my life that were really challenging all my security. And I remember just being in this like emotional storm. This was after years and years of practice and exploration. And just being in the first time where I was really in this hell, and I could keep putting my attention in the I am, and I could kind of also experience love simultaneously. So the I am was love. Like, so it was like it was flittering really quickly between the two. But it's really a commitment to do, and it's also not getting into all the traps of like feeling like a failure, feeling like you can't do it. Like it's not, that's an easy trap to fall into. I was really lucky I had Buddhist training before, which was like no expectation of the meditation. You present yourself, and if you have like a really difficult meditation where your mind is all over the place, it's like a celebration at the end. You did it. It's not, oh my God, I can't do it. I'm a failure. It's like, yeah, that's really freaking cool. I did it. I sat still through really difficult mental states for a whole hour. It's no expectation of outcome. And I realized that a lot of people that get into non-duality, they haven't done all these types of things. So when these things are suggested, they fall into the easy trap of I can't do it. And then through I can't do it, it's like blaming the teaching. Oh yes, but there is nobody. Who's she talking about? It's getting onto all these mental states. And really what we're trying to encourage is going back to the stateless state beyond you. It's the end of the attachment to all these thought processes. And that's the beauty of the I am practice, because the mind, the seeking wants to go into time. Like seeking can only exist with the imagination of time. And then it takes on a volition of its own, your nervous system begins to get into the seeking mentality. So you get hyperly aroused by seeking, you know, so they become, the emotions and the stories all become one. It's the end of this belief in the timeline. So what is it that's still and silent right now? And that is consciousness. That is the empty looking and the I am. The mind is in movement. And so you're kind of tricking the mind. You're using the mind to still the mind. And then in that, as it begins to still, then there can be a shifting over to that which is already still. I am. Just do it. Just do it. Da, da, da. There is a song that has that in it. Just do it. Is it Nike or Coca-Cola? Now, you might all be wondering what that is. I'm not going to tell you. You have to guess. There. Okay, so we can go to questions. So if you have a question, then you are welcome to send me a question in the Telegram group. If you would like to speak to me live, then in the Telegram group, say, I would like to speak to you live, and then I will send you a Zoom link to speak with me. So you've got to be part of the Telegram group. If you're not part of the Telegram group, then there is some box around here that gives you information about my website, and you can go on there and find out how to join. Yeah, well, everything's got to be verified now. So I think that people find this really weird because for so many years I could do it really openly, but every person that presents himself on the internet has the right to uh, a safe and violence-free expression. So in order to join anything that I do know, you have to verify your name. So if you are inappropriate, we know who you are and we can ban you forever. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has a right to work in safety and without being threatened or having violence put towards them. Okay, the questions. Let's just call this setup. You can't see my setup, but I set it up a different way this way. I can just like change my. It's the best chair I've ever had. It's amazing. Just turn around. Turn back. Okay. Question. Is there something prior to consciousness? I ask because I heard a conversation between a woman who studied Nisargadatta and a highly realized teacher. The woman argued for her understanding that there is something prior to consciousness. The teacher finally said it was somatic difference. What is your understanding? Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. I mean, I just don't care. I absolutely don't care if there's something prior to consciousness or not. It's all somatics, like whatever we call it, because what is consciousness anyway? Does consciousness actually exist? This is what I mean by all the teachers' different words, like become still And then that's the end. Become the stillness of what you are, and then that's the end. There is no thing appearing as everything, and you don't need to articulate it or verbalize it, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, Nisargadatta would say that, and the same as Buddhism, that you are prior to consciousness, you are the no thing. I think it's semantics too. But I'm so happy for Nisargadatta's expression. It just doesn't matter. Just come back to who you are. I meet so many people that are concerned about this point. And I just think, well, but why don't you just go into who you are? You know, like discover for yourself. Don't get caught up on that. You don't need to intellectually understand it to be it. The intellect is something that comes and goes. But I really appreciate the question because so many people get caught up on this one. Nothing matters. Dear Lisa, have as you have read the words, one may only help others as the compassionate witness, there is such a powerful resonance. How can one keep the connection to the witness in the seemingly turbulent world of relationships? That's such a great question. Thank you for your question. So just a reminder for anyone that's just tuned in, you're super welcome to write a question in Telegram, or you're welcome to write a question and say you'd like to speak to me live in Zoom. But just remember that I'm relying on you to all be aware of your own boundaries and what you would like to expose on the internet and not expose. Okay, so to reply to this question, how may one keep the connection to the witness in the seemingly turbulent world of relationships? So some people would say the witness is what's prior to consciousness. So let's just get a bit more in line with my wording. So you don't have to use my wording, but I just want to explain my wording. So when I answer this, you understand what I mean. So there is personal awareness. Personal awareness we all have, awakened or not awakened. And to me, personal awareness is the ability to move the camera lens. So therefore, I can put the attention on my knee. I can put the attention on my thinking. I can put the attention on the ceiling, on the computer, on the sound of the birds outside. So that is what I call personal awareness. And that is the ability to move the lens. Move the lens. But it's nobody's personal awareness. It comes with the feeling of you doing it, but actually when you investigate it, there's nobody and nothing doing it, it's a happening. But there's something that's watching the personal awareness. And that's what I call the big consciousness. That might be what Nisargadatta Maharaj calls the witness, but sometimes, you know, from reading his book, he changes his wording, I think, or I don't understand what he's saying. But I do too. I change my wording. I change my wording sometimes to speak to other people and come to their wording. And sometimes I just naturally change it. I have more of a feeling for some words than other words. But that's generally my consistent expression. Is when I say consciousness, I mean the consciousness that's aware of the personal awareness. And that consciousness might be considered the witness. So when I'm instructing to do the I am, I'm saying use the personal attention to put the attention in the I am. And what I mean by the I am is the feeling of I in the heart area, the feeling of being in the heart area. So how may one keep the connection to the witness in the seemingly turbulent world of relationships? So in truth, you can't really keep connection to the witness. So I say move the personal attention and put it in consciousness. So put it in the big consciousness or put it in the I am. But actually the consciousness is watching the personal attention doing that. So there's something that knows the personal attention putting the attention in itself. So what most people do is they go around practicing becoming present, putting the attention in consciousness or putting the attention in the I am. And then when they're in a relationship, they get triggered and then they're just really in their reactions. So there's no longer them putting the attention in the consciousness or the I am. They're just really in a reaction. And I assume that's what you mean by your question. I might have got it wrong. You might mean something else, but that's what I assume you mean. And that's like really a valid question because like it's when you're triggered and it can be triggering without seeking, but there can be triggering with seeking. So so it's then a really personal journey into understanding what is triggering you and why, and then noticing when these patterns come up and noticing that they overtake. So, and noticing and understanding. So I think Nisargadatta Maharaj would speak about understanding the habits and the conditions of the body. So relating them maybe to your past or relating them to your feelings as to why you're getting triggered. I still get triggered in relating. It's really intense what we do in this society. You partner up with someone and then you're expected to create a life together with two very different ways of doing things. So yeah, and then there's the survival, there's money, there's kids, there's so much that goes on in that two people relationship. Some people have more people in that relationship. Most people, it's just two people in the relationship. Yeah, so it's coming to understand your habits and conditions. And then another part is noticing that negative emotions can happen, conflict can happen, and there can also be a deep connection to who you are. So when you begin to lose the seeking energy that's trying to be something when you're being triggered, so you're in front of someone and there's no longer trying to be better than, and you're not going into seeking to be a person, there can be triggering and staying very present. And then eventually that presence can be there without any effort anymore, like a deep knowing of who you are, a deep intimacy of who you are. And then there can be triggering of uncomfortable feelings. What happens mostly in our society is that we have uncomfortable feelings and then we're taught that they're bad, and then all these seeking patterns come around them. So say if you're in relationship with somebody and they start speaking to you in an inappropriate way, not saying very nice things to you, it might then trigger feelings that then trigger immense seeking to get back at them, revenge, to get them to apologize, to, all these type of seeking feelings. So the trick to it is, in the end, is discovering who you are, repetitively coming back to who you are, and seeing what's pulling you into seeking, and seeing that that's not true, and becoming very comfortable with your feelings and your emotions. So your feelings and your emotions are not a bad thing. They can also be here in presence. You can feel angry and there can be presence. You can dislike somebody's behavior and there can be presence. You can be embarrassed by your partner's behavior and there can be presence. There's not a seeking to uphold your identity. Nothing really matters. So it's who are you? So it's a commitment to who you are. So what is more important to you? Your identity when you have conflict with your partner, how they see you, how you see yourself, or presence. So it's who are you now? Whatever you're feeling, there can be a knowing of freedom. Nothing can keep you away from it. It's not true, all the thoughts that run around the relationship. There can be better ways to behave, better ways to be. And you can go to a therapist to learn that. But nothing's true. What's true is present I am, freedom. The seeking mind is trying to be something, and them trying to be something, and then a relationship that you both have. It's an illusion. You don't have a relationship. You are here. You are here. Who is the one that's in relationship? Who needs the partner to see them as a certain way? And that one that needs it can put the attention back in the I am, and at moments there will just be a collapsing into everything, into the I am and the empty looking. The problems that you believe you're having because of the relationship aren't your true problems. Your true problem is the loss of connection with self. Yes, you can learn how to be a better partner, but that's an endless endeavor. The true freedom is I am. I am. Or the empty looking is this. This. I think there's more comments about that question. I think of intimate partner relationships as one of the strongest forces life puts there for us to push us into awakening. I'm curious, what purpose does an intimate partner serve to somebody who is awakened already? To love, to share love. To share love. From the perspective of nosing, or I amness, or the consciousness, whatever we call it, there's an expression of seeing nothing in the other, and the other seeing nothing in you. That's so beautiful. To be in relationship where there is this commitment and expression of emptiness. What greater gift? And when you kind of get over yourself, then, and the other person is getting over themselves, then you can have there can be a harmonious union, quite a harmonious union, as long as both are committed to getting over themselves. I'm not saying I'm perfect, easy partner, or like but it's 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 so much easier when things aren't seen as personal. Like whatever your partner does, it's not personal to you. And whatever you do, it's not personal to them. And when you really see that, like your perspective on humanity is like, I just want others to expand, on my character level. I just want the other person to thrive. And there's not really someone there. So whenever you're meeting the person, it's always fresh. You're freshly meeting them. Fresh, 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 fresh. Even though there is memory of habits and conditions and the way someone behaves or doesn't behave, there is also this freshness. Like, who are they? So you've got a memory that can come up recalling their habits and conditions, and then you're just there looking at them empty with nothing for nothing. As is Alice. There is no more questions. Attempting to answer to your question from earlier today, is the thing in your visual background meant to be a sort of penguin? Just a guess. No, it's not a penguin. It's not a penguin. Na, 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 na. I could ask you a question on Zoom. Yeah, okay. I just have to put myself on focus mode so that it doesn't show your name. Just one moment. Hmm. Wow, do it. Okay. It's an owl, somebody says in the Telegram group. Ding! Only two guesses. Ding! It's an owl. It is an owl. Okay, hang on. I'm just coming with um, an invite. Send. Um, um, Isabel, could I just send you this in FaceTime and could you send it to me in Telegram? I'm so sorry, I haven't got Telegram on my computer. I can see you're watching, so if I could just do that. Just I'm going to send you a link. Izzy. Dankeschön. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And if you send it to me and oh, can you just put it in the question group, please? Just paste it in the question group and then Don can click on it. I'm just going to visit the toilet while Izzy does that. No sound. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back on sound. I should never switch my sound on. Okay, so I hope that this really doesn't show your video. Fingers crossed. Oh, does it show his video? Let's see. Maybe keep your video off in case it shows you. I'm not sure. Yeah, but it might be showing your name. But you can keep your audio on. Maybe keep your video off in case it shows you.
It'll show my name anyway, won't it? I probably won't ask any secret questions.
Yeah, you have to listen to me in Zoom, not in. It might be showing your name.
Oh.
But you can keep your audio on.
How do I turn? Oh, do I have to turn off the YouTube audio? Is that the idea?
Oh, it doesn't show the video off in case it shows you.
It'll show my name anyway, won't it? I probably won't ask any secret questions.
Yeah, you have to listen to me in Zoom, not in. It might be showing your name. But you can keep your audio on.
How do I turn? Oh, do I have to turn off the YouTube audio? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think you have to turn off the YouTube. I'm all.
Okie dokie. Right, so that's off, I think.
Yeah, and you're not being shown.
Okay, then.
Correctly. I can see you, but no one else can.
You can see me. Oh, okay.
I can't see your video. I can just see your name.
Okay, but nobody else can see, so I can turn this on. So you can just see me.
That's what everyone says.
Oh, I've forgotten my question. I haven't forgotten my question.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. You don't have to hurry. You can take your time if you've forgotten your question. We've got no hurry. Nobody else wants to ask a question.
Nobody else. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I wasn't sure whether to ask. I don't know whether I often wonder whether my experience is similar to anyone else's or whether that matters. But so I'm sitting here on my sofa on a Sunday afternoon, no turbulent relationships or anything else going on. It's just me here and being present as best I can for the last hour and a half or something, right? And this is an experience I have for years, really, to be honest. And I'm working with it, so I'm going to keep working with it. But there's a feeling of confusion in my head or wherever, somewhere here, of like just spinning confusion. And there's a sense of, I'm not really here. I bet you. I feel like I'm in a story about being in the present. I don't really feel I'm present. I feel like I'm just thought energy. I feel identified. I feel confused. And I don't feel like I'm here. And one solution I have is just to say that's just a sensation and I'm labeling it confusion and I'm going to just leave it. But it just has so much energy to it. It feels like it's constantly trying to take me away and distract me. And I really don't feel present. And I can sit for ages with this confusion. And I just feels, oh, it doesn't feel right. And I don't feel like maybe I'm not, I'm trying too hard to get a result, but I just kind of go, oh, I feel like I'm just pretending to sit here and be present. I feel I'm in some kind of identity who is not really here, and I don't know how to see through it. It's so energetic, and I don't want to feel like superstitious, but it almost feels like it wants to keep me away from the present moment. It wants to keep me distracted and tell me stories that'll keep me from settling and just being here. And I find it hard to struggle or not struggle with it.
Yeah, I really hear that, and I think that a lot of people can relate to what you're saying. Like I really like. So what's really interesting is that there's two parts of you in this. There's a part that can separate from those thoughts and recognize them. So you've got two parts happening. You've got the one that's like saying all these things, and then you've got another side of you that's recognizing that you're saying these things. But both of those are in thought. So you've got the thought that's thinking like, I'm not really here, it's not really working. And then you've got another one that's sort of in communication with that saying, no, I am here, or I'm not here. There's these two parts having a conversation. And that can be really overwhelming and feel very uncomfortable. Really, because you kind of, it's evoking feelings of maybe shame, of maybe like you're doing something wrong. maybe a tiredness as well, like an exhaustion with it, feeling left out, maybe that other people can do it. Like, so it evokes these feelings in the body. And that is part and parcel. Like, I went through that period as well. And some people go through longer periods of it and shorter periods of it. It's a period of recognizing the thinking mind and recognizing the habits and conditions and getting used to the discomfort of that. So before, prior to becoming aware of that, other people are just medicating and they have no sense that that's happening inside of them. So the stories that you're telling yourself now will have been happening prior to you being aware of them, but they're just been happening in the background, and there would have been complete unconsciousness of it, and there would have been acting out. So drinking alcohol, addictions, overworking, over crossing your boundaries, having arguments with people, de-stressing by arguing with people, getting yourself in conflict. And there would just be an intense involvement in that. And then you go through the stage of becoming aware of it. And that's a different stage for everybody. For some people, that lasts for years, for some people, months, and gets used to, and getting used to feeling the feelings of it. And what's happening also in that is at moments there is a recognition that something is watching that character. Even though you might not be able to perceive it, there has to be this breaking away and a recognition that something is perceiving the character that's having a conversation about failure and not failure. And that's what's we're heading towards in non-duality, is a moving towards that stillness of the watcher, of the big consciousness. And that only comes about, seemingly, for most people, through this apparent process of becoming more and more self-conscious and more aware of what's happening.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. Thanks. I do
So
feel like
next,
that I do have sometimes some awareness or some space or some awareness of it. And I guess it makes me extra frustrated when I can't find the space around it. It's just these two aspects, like you said, and I'm going,
yeah,
I wonder if that first aspect is just trying to get me involved in a big argument
yeah.
and to keep me involved. I don't want to be involved in that argument. I want to just watch.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's something that's watching both of those voices. There's something that's knowing it, and there'll be moments where there is a breaking of those two front voices and a movement back to that. And this is what will happen. I was speaking earlier about that time when I was really in hell, and it was the first time that it really strongly happened where I was oscillating in hell. It used to be in the beginning when I first started that I would only have those breaks when I was feeling really good. And then it began to be, when I was feeling in hell or having difficult feelings, there would be these moments of breaks. And this is just part of the process. And the more that you get used to it, the more that you'll see that, and there'll be less energy that goes into that mind that is quarreling or maybe attempting to get involved, or there will be less energy that goes into that, and the breaks will become more regular. And then at some point, there will just be the movement back to that consciousness, to the big consciousness. And then there will be a permanent watching of the character. And it's a process which it's kind of like a pathless path, because in the very final stage, you realize that that's all a dream too, the path to it. But the process of it isn't the same for everybody. There is a seeming pattern, but it's this gradual breaking down of attachment to the character and to the thinking mind.
okay. So I mean, yeah. I guess what's the question? Is there anything different I need to do from what I'm doing? I'm just
Yeah,
trying to watch. And because a lot of the thing is about I'm doing it wrong.
yeah.
So of course I'm looking for advice about how to do it right.
Right. And that's it. That's perfect. That recognition. And in that recognition, in getting familiar with the mind's patterns, there will be less energy going into that. It's like the pathless path. It's not really a doing. There is the seeming doing, the practice of putting the attention into the I am and the exploration of the ideas. But in a way, it's the pathless path, because the more that it's walked down, what happens is there is a loss of energy into an illusion. And we don't know really how or why or when that will stop. It's just something that seemingly happens the more that the nature of reality is investigated, that this subject's explored. So
Okay.
you're exactly right. That story that you'll tell yourself that you can't get it or you won't get it or you're doing it wrong is more than likely a habit that's been there in that body your whole life. And so it's just the same thing that's coming up in this this area.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to go the whole afternoon. Can I ask one little extra
Yeah.
piece, which is what is it? Just that, yeah, about doing. Was that part of today's description about a
Yeah.
doer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because people often tell me about doing and trying too hard and so on. I have a belief around this whole thing, which may just be a belief, but sometimes think it's because of my experience, a belief that this habit will just continue forever because it's so powerful unless I really try really hard to look into it and investigate really hard and keep doing all of this investigation. So I feel like, yeah, I know it adds extra energy to the process. I feel if I just sit here kind of calmly, it'll just take me over and I'll be distracted forever. And I have to try really hard to see through it all the time. And I almost get a headache from trying to see through because there's a belief that it's a very strong pattern. And I think it is, So I don't know. I'm not sure how to work with that. People keep telling me not to try so hard. And I go, if you were in this head, you'd be trying hard too.
Oh.
I don't know.
I would just question everything. So question those ideas, are these stories which you believed in childhood? Are they something that people have told you? So it's not saying don't or do try really hard. It's just questioning everything that you're noticing that the mind is telling you. So the mind is telling you that you need to try really hard. I'm not saying stop that or don't do that, but just could that possibly be a habit or a seeking pattern of that body mind? And if so, just recognize that and recognize it when it comes up. And then putting the attention back in the I am. So you recognize it, you recognize that pull, and then the attention back in the I am. It comes up again. Maybe a millisecond later, recognize it, and then back in the I am.
Okay. Thanks.
And then the whole time that that's happening, knowing that the one that's recognizing it is a happening, it's not an actual doer. So all this undoing is not actually you. It's something that's happening, and all the illusion isn't actually you. You have always been the empty looking, which is watching everything. That's always been who you are, not the illusion that's playing out on the screen. But we speak in the screen, so we speak in the dream of the characters, and we speak about things to do, and there might be I say something and then that character does something, but it's not because it's got its own volition, it's just a happening. I know that's confusing, but it's noticing that it sounds like doership, it sounds like I'm speaking to a you there, but I'm ultimately speaking to relax that so there can be a recognition of who you truly are, which is watching all of it play out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's just seems to sometimes I'm always afraid to say too much. Seems to be a recognition of the no doer, or they're just happening, and I feel like awareness or not doing whatever, the space, whatever way I'm saying it wrong. Um, it feels like that's what I am, And yet at the same time, it also simultaneously feels like I'm the doer who's doing it wrong.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what? It couldn't be both. How can I be both? Can I not just decide to be one of those? It's just-
yeah. Well, I mean, like in a way, you are everything that plays out too. So you are everything that plays out, but including the rain, including the sky, including the tree. But when the awakening process is happening, it sometimes can feel like this bizarre pull between the dream character and that freedom, which is there.
Hmm, thanks.
Yeah,
Anyway, more importantly, what does the owl do though, apart from sit in the corner?
it's a bucket. You
Is
put
that all?
things inside of it.
You put things in it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question and for calling in.
Thank you.
I'm going to inject you from here, so
Yep.
just so there can't be a you or
Yep.
maybe you
I
yeah,
I'll go back to YouTube.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Just so I can't by accident put the screen on you. Yeah, that went really well. I did it. Yeah. If you want to ask a question, so I see that there's iPhone in the waiting room. If you want to ask a question, please say so on Telegram first, because last time I was letting people in and they didn't realize that it had to be to ask a question. Danke. No, thank you for your help. Can I just say something to CW, who says no name or video, all is well. I'm trying not to say your name, so I don't say your whole name out on YouTube. But can I just say, I always mean to say this to you. Years ago, when you came to retreat in France, you gave me a bag, and that's still my #1 shopping bag. I love it. You gave it from Hawaii, and it was so convenient. It's like the best shopping bag ever. I've never come across one like that since. No, I just felt to express. So every time I go shopping, there's always a thought of you when I pull out my shopping bag. Well, maybe not always, but often. Yes, I think that's the end of the questions today. So thank you, everybody. I've so enjoyed sharing with you about non-duality. I love it. Yeah, it's the best subject there is. Um, yeah. And I really, 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 really wish you everything. Everything. everything, 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 everything. Yeah. Next week, I won't be here. We'll be at the conference, so there will be no stream. So I think it'll be 2 weeks' time, although I'm not positive I'll be there for that one because I might be pooped after the conference. So we shall see. You have to come to the conference. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Bye.